What is up, New York Giants fans? Thank you for tuning in to a very special victory episode of Tommy's Takes. I'm your host, Tommy G. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that. As always, check me out on Twitter at TommyG105. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on YouTube. That all means the world to me. It helps us get the content out to you easier, quicker. Please check out what we're doing over at Giants Country. Ton of great content creators over there pumping out content for you guys. And especially after a victory like this, I know you guys are pumped to read, watch some videos, because there's a lot to unpack with this game. Let's get right into it. First and foremost, this New York Giants team is starting to take on the attitude and resemblance of the coaching staff. Tough, gritty, never give up. I mean, even today, we'll get to it, to the injuries, but even today at one point in the second half, you had no quarterback. There was no starting quarterback. Jones, Tyrod both go down. Saquon Barkley is in there running the Wildcat, and the team still fought, and they still fought to the very end. And when you work hard and you fight and you practice hard and you play with skill and you play with your brain, you'll come out on the winning side. The NFL there's a very small margin between victory and losing. So if you could do those intangibles, you'll win. And the New York Giants have won. They're 3-1 now. Like I said last episode, if I would have whispered in your ear in June or July and said, hey, the Giants would be 3-1 their first 4 games, you'd have been like, you're out of your mind, especially with Tennessee and Dallas on the docket. But here we are. So get right into it. Giants start the game with a 3-and-out. Bears put a field goal up on the board, and then the Giants did their thing. And this was a remarkable offensive game plan. Listen, Giants have no receivers right now. They have Kenny Golladay, who can't catch a pass. They have David Sills, who can't catch. Richie James has been solid. Outside of him, that's it. You brought Darius Slayton back today in a bigger role. He drops the deep bomb down the sideline that should have been a touchdown, though they did get a defensive pass interference. It was a big play. Could have been a lot bigger. So the coaching staff is working around this. And today they really came out with bootleg play action, scrambles with DJ. And the Bears had absolutely no answer to this at all. Zero. As a matter of fact, the commentators kept saying, this is crazy. This is ridiculous. How could they not stop this? And it started right away, basically on the first drive of the game. Jones is running around. Barkley, who we'll get to Barkley, phenomenal game. He is back to his rookie year form, but better. I'll talk about why he's better now. But another strong game running. The Giants came into this game saying, listen, we're going to win this game on the legs of Saquon Barkley, on the legs of Daniel Jones, and playing defense. And they did just that. And, Evan Neal, who was much criticized this season, especially last week versus DeMarcus Lawrence, he did a great job. I mean, he really opened up some holes today. It's really unfortunate that he got injured. He has a neck injury. That's what the word is now. Really unfortunate, because this is probably his best game as a pro. Obviously, this is only his 4th game, but Evan Neal was spectacular out there. The rest of the offensive line played very well. Wasn't a lot of pressure. And as far as running, when you really look at it, Giants have had success in spurts running the ball, but they haven't had that consistency. And today they just ran wild. They had, I believe it was 267 yards rushing, which was phenomenal. And Barkley had the lion's share of it. Jones obviously had his share, and that was the game plan. They were going to run the ball. They weren't going to do anything but run the ball. They had 262 yards rushing. Barkley had 146 yards on, I believe it was 31 carries. Jones, 6 carries, 68 yards, 2 touchdowns. And really, it was those 2 drives in the first half that kind of decided this game. And Giants had a fast start. When's the last time offensively this team has had a fast start? That was a big plus. That was a big bonus. And getting out in front like that is what helped them hang on in the second half when the injuries started going awry and things were going crazy for Jones. Tyrod, Neal is out. Jones is out. Tyrod comes in. He throws an interception. A few plays later, he's out with a concussion. Jones has to come back in. But going back to those first 2 drives, it was really, the second drive was highlighted by a phenomenal 2-play sequence. It was a 3rd and 9, middle screen to Saquon Barkley that the Bears read perfectly. Barkley spins out of the middle screen, takes off towards the left sideline with Daniel Jones as the lead blocker. Jones gets the block, Barkley gets the first down. 2 plays later, Jones gets the 20-plus yard scramble in the end zone on the bootleg. That signified what the Giants were going to do all day, and they did. And the offensive line allowed that. The toughness of Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley allowed that. Short passes to the tight ends were key today. That was a huge part in the bootleg. It wasn't just bootleg runs. And credit to DJ for the ball fakes for Daniel Jones. He had some phenomenal ball fakes today. Some of them went, I didn't know where the ball was. The cameraman didn't know where the ball was. And typically when that happens, the defense is going to struggle to find the ball. And that's what really made these bootlegs work. The hiding the ball fake, so to speak. And he did a phenomenal job. Like I said, that 2-play sequence spurred on that second touchdown drive. So the Giants were up 14-6 at half. Come out the second half, Bears get a field goal. Giants offense struggled in the second half, just to be blunt about it. The teams traded field goals in the third quarter. Giants got a field goal drive in the fourth quarter, which would end up putting the game away. Giants did miss a field goal towards the end. I believe it was in the last couple of minutes, but the Bears end up fumbling the punt return. Giants and Bears both had fumbled punt returns in this game, which is unique. And really, it was just the toughness and the grittiness, and it was the next man up mentality by Brian Daboll and his team. I mean, when you look at some of the numbers, really incredible. 262 yards rushing for the Giants. They're 3-1 for the first time since 2005. Their second best start in the last 17 years. So all the credit due to the coaching staff. Everyone said this was a rebuilding team. This was not a team that could win right now. It's going to be a tough season, top 5 pick. You're going to take a quarterback. Well, no one told the Giants that, and no one told Brian Daboll that, because they're 3-1, could be 4-0. Honestly, a couple plays here and there versus Dallas, a couple drops maybe here and there versus Dallas, and they could be 4-0. And that's a testament to this coaching staff. It really is. And the players, of course. They had the next man up mentality today. You had some spectacular performances today. And I want to get into that. We'll start with Barkley. In the offseason, Barkley kind of had, we'll call it this campaign where it was, I'm going to show you, you guys stay on that side, videos of him working out, getting ready. And it was all kind of like, okay. When let your play do the talking. Well, he's letting his play do the talking, and Saquon Barkley is playing at an MVP level right now. Yeah, I said it, MVP level. He has 400 and I believe 60 yards rushing through the first 4 games, which is a New York Giants franchise record. And we all know the Giants have been around since 1925. So that tells you what you need to know right there. I mean, guys breaking franchise records right now, Saquon, and, tough road to get here for him. He has the phenomenal rookie year. Obviously, pick number 2 out of Penn State. Phenomenal rookie year. Breaks a bunch of Giants rookie records, including the actual receptions record. As a running back, he broke that. 2019 has a solid year. You start to see the injury bug start to affect him. 2020 is where you get the torn ACL versus Chicago. 2021 starts coming back, has the really good game against the Saints where he scores on the deep pass, scores the game winner for the Giants. Then the next game versus Dallas, steps on a defender's foot, and almost breaks his ankle. So he never really got back over the injury hump. And people were questioning that. Is he the same? Is he going to be able to come back off of all these injuries? Is it even possible? This is going to be his 4th year. Well, it's possible, and he's back, and he's been remarkable. And he is the key reason this team is 3-1. Honestly, they put the weight of the game plan on his shoulders today. Obviously, Daniel Jones did a phenomenal job today, running the ball, no turnovers again for Daniel Jones. And Daniel takes a beat in every game. I wish he wouldn't take as many hits as he does, but sadly, the game plan for Jones today was how you get the most out of him. Bootlegs, play actions, running the ball, setting up the run off the pass, and getting him using his athleticism. Unfortunately, when you do that, you face injury. And, it's weird because his injury, the ankle injury he had today, wasn't off that. It was off a sack he had. And, so shout out to Saquon, shout out to Daniel Jones. They were the key cogs today running the ball, and they led the Giants to a victory. Giants are 3-1. Like I said, second best start in almost 20 years. There's not a lot of bad you could say, but there were injuries, and there were a lot of them. And, we'll start with Daniel Jones. Gets tackled, ankle gets caught under him, ankle twist. Obviously still waiting on word what happens with Daniel. You had Evan Neal randomly leaving the second half with a neck injury. We seen with Daniel Jones last year how neck injuries could be tough. Waiting on word on that. And then you have Tyrod Taylor, concussion. And it was remarkable because Jones is out. Taylor comes in. He throws an interception on the first drive. Second drive comes back, has a really nice spin move, gets the first down. And then as he's scrambling up the left sideline, he gets rocked and he gets a concussion. And this is where the game kind of, was a pivotal point. And this really reflected on the coaching to me watching the game. You have no quarterback. You have the ball at midfield, right? You're barely holding off the Bears. You're up by one score. You bring Saquon Barkley in to run the Wildcat, and you still move the ball and get a couple first downs and get that field goal that put it to an 8-point lead. That was remarkable. That showed to me that was living proof, physical proof of the next man up mentality. Your quarterback, your running back is playing quarterback. They did bring Jones in on a couple plays on that series, mostly as a decoy, mostly to get the play calls in, and you still got a field goal. Really remarkable, and salute to Brian Daboll and the coaching staff. But the injuries are hard to ignore, and that was a shining cause. It was looking almost like the Giants couldn't field the team to end the game, but they did bring Jones back in. You have Aaron Robinson, who left in the first half. You also had Kenny Golladay headed back to the locker room in the second half. And, I have to say this, the Giants have dealt with injuries. They're probably the most injured team in the last 10 years. There's some debate over that, who's number 1, 2, and 3, but definitely in the top 3. And it's only gotten worse. And I don't know what the answer is, whether it's the MetLife turf, whether it's the training staff. Obviously, fans like to bicker and debate about that, but this is not good. You're headed into a game versus Green Bay, where Green Bay is obviously a better team than a Chicago, better team than probably Tennessee. Tennessee struggled, and you might be missing both your quarterbacks, 3 of your receivers, your right tackle. So this injury thing for the Giants just never goes away. It's such an unfortunate thing. And even on an afternoon like this, where they get to 3-1, next man up mentality, Jones looks good, Barkley and playing at an MVP level. It's like every other play, the announcer's like, well, someone down on the field there, looks like a Giant. I must have heard that phrase about 7 times today. So that's going to be another challenge for this coaching staff to overcome. You're going on the road, so to speak, in London versus Green Bay. Not an easy matchup, but in my opinion, right now at this point, Giants playing with house money. They have 2 tough games up with Green Bay and Baltimore, but 3-1, really remarkable. Focus on getting guys healthy here. If you can get a couple of these guys healthy, I don't really know if Tony's close, Robinson's close. You hear kind of conflicting reports, but get some of these guys healthy because you do have some key components here. Yes, it's a rebuilding team, and you see it's a rebuilding team on full display week after week. You see rookies running around making mistakes. You see guys that should be depth pieces on this team starting that are making mistakes. They wouldn't start on other teams. They probably wouldn't be second stringers on other teams making mistakes. And that's what a rebuilding team is. Rebuilding team is not people playing flawlessly, rookies playing great. This is normal. But the thing that complicates it now is the Giants are 3-1. And after this 2-game stretch against Green Bay and Baltimore, they have a pretty favorable stretch. So, yeah, it's a rebuild. Listen, people are going to say it's a rebuild. Wins don't matter. This don't matter. I personally am of the belief that nothing furthers a player's success, a team's success, than in-game winning. And I know that sounds simple, but losing every week and losing for draft picks, some fans may like that. There's a lot of college football fans that are Giants fans, but that doesn't help the players. That doesn't help the team. It just doesn't. It's a bad feeling watching the other team celebrate across the field from you, having fun, and you're just sitting there moping, head down. Coaches are mad. So got to get healthy before this next Green Bay game. But let's touch on some of these performances today because there were some shining performances for the New York Giants that not only the fan base should be proud of, the coaching staff should be proud of. Let's start with the defensive line. I thought the defensive line was remarkable today. Bears came in. They had over 250 yards rushing versus Houston last week. all you heard this week was Bears rushing attack, Bears rushing attack. They're gonna run. Fields could run, and they can run, and they did run somewhat. But when you look at some of the numbers, you have, Khalil Herbert had 19 carries for 77 yards, just over 4 yards per carry. Stark difference from last week. Fields had 7 carries, 52 yards. Not great, but not bad. He didn't have anything that really killed the Giants, and that was it. And this defensive line went after it. You've seen Azeez Ojulari to start the game, unblockable. I felt like there was 2 blatant holding calls on against him that weren't called on that first drive, and he was in the backfield all day. You had Kayvon Thibodeau, who didn't get home, but really was in the backfield also. He had a couple of plays where he was right there. Azeez also, it was funny. When I was on Twitter after those first holding calls, I was like, you know what? He's going to get home this game. He's going to get a sack this game. 2 drives later, he gets the sack, strip, forced fumble on Fields, makes the play, and the Giants take over and end up scoring on that drive. And those ends played great, and they're both young. Obviously, Tibbs is a rookie. Tibbs had the bonehead play today where he deflects the pass at the line and then still hits the quarterback. Not sure why he would do that. Once you deflect the pass, the play's over. So that's a learning experience from him. Giants had a couple of bonehead plays today, a couple of discipline errors out there, but Thibodeau, Azeez played well. Dexter Lawrence. This might have been Dexter Lawrence's best game as a pro, honestly. And there's been a lot of talk about Lawrence. Obviously, his 5th-year option got picked up at $11 million, I believe it was, for the option for the year. Not bad, anyways, financially. But he was remarkable today. I mean, he was in the backfield. He had 2 sacks, which he's not a big pass rushing guy. Played great against the run up the middle, and I'm sure he heard the talk all week. Leonard Williams is not playing. Bears are going to run it right down the Giants' throat. They're going to run it up the middle. There's no one there to stop Herbert. This is going to be a rushing game for the Bears, and he really stepped up. So when you got Thibodeau, Azeez, and Lawrence playing well, Giants for the most part dominated that line of scrimmage. There were some plays that Fields broke contain, got out of there, scrambled, but for the most part, especially in the fourth quarter, when the D started wearing down on the Bears' offense, you could start to see who was making an impact. And it was those 3 players on the defensive line. So major shout out to them, especially Lawrence. Nice to see him break out. First round pick, number 17 overall. Obviously he was taken in the Daniel Jones draft. So big game for him. And really that's where this game's going to be won. Any game's going to be won. They lost the Cowboys game up front. Their offensive line dominated our defensive line and vice versa. That's how the Giants lost that Cowboys game. If not, they'd be 4-0. So you're going to win these games in the trenches. Offensive line looked much better today for the Giants, especially Evan Neal. I spoke about it briefly. Really unfortunate with the neck injury. I made it a point myself to watch him during the game and kind of watch his technique and his footwork, mostly because he was so bad against Dallas. I mean, his film against Dallas had to be some of the worst offensive line film I've seen in a long time. And he was great today. He run blocking was great. He did a great job in his pass sets, didn't allow any jailbreaks out there. So, you wait to see how he comes back. Andrew Thomas, outside of Saquon Barkley, I would say Andrew Thomas is the second best New York Giant. He's developed into a franchise left tackle. It's on display every week. Again, today he's pile driving guys into the ground, pancaking guys, and you got a little glimpse today. And if you're a Giants fan, this is important. You got a glimpse of the bookend tackles with Neal playing well and what they can be. You got Barkley running the ball. You got Jones on the outside running the ball off bootlegs. And those 2 tackles were sealing things. So you got a little glimpse of that. That was a big positive for the Giants. Hope Neal is okay. Hope he comes back from that neck injury. But shout out to him. Was having a great game before that. Let's go now to some of the not so good. Let's go to the receiver group. So I'm going to say this, and this is, looking at some of these numbers after the game, I just couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. So out of Darius Slayton, Sills, James, and Kenny Golladay, you had a total of 3 receptions out of that starting receiver group. How many drops did they have? Sills had a drop. You also had a drop from Hudson, the tight end, and you also had a deep bomb drop that could have been a touchdown by Darius Slayton. And it's unfortunate because what's going to start to happen here is teams could see that the Giants are one-dimensional. I think the first couple of games, Jones had his opportunities in the passing game. And I think the last two games, there's really been nobody to pass it to. Nobody's really open. Last week versus Dallas, there were tons of drops even when they got open. So teams are going to stack that box against Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. And they're going to dare Jones to beat him with his arm, which he has not really been able to do consistently this season for whatever reason, whether it's him missing open receivers, not reading the defense properly, not seeing an open guy, or guys just dropping the ball flat out when he throws it to him. So that's going to be tough, and it's going to be interesting for Kafka. I thought Kafka called a brilliant game today, especially with the bootlegs. I thought in the second half they got a little conservative, rightfully so. They had the lead. They're dropping like flies offensively to injuries. I thought that was the right thing to do. But I really thought that drive where Barkley came in the Wildcat showed what this team was. And it was a signature moment to me because it was next man up. It was, we'll do whatever it takes. Jones coming back, even with the ankle injury, to help out and call plays and line up at receiver and all that. It was a one of those moments. But in the NFL, those moments are fleeting. You're only as good as your last week. So Giants got to get healthy. You kind of sit and you hold your breath here when you're thinking about who's coming back. How's Jones' ankle? How's Neal's neck? How's Aaron Robinson? He went down in the game. You had Kenny Golladay leave at one point, and it's really remarkable because there's only so many injuries a team could sustain. And I remember saying it in the preseason. I said, this team could be solid. This could be a solid 7, 8, 9 win football team. But if they get a couple of critical injuries that are for the season, they're going to be a team that struggles to beat anyone. And it's almost getting to that point now where it's like, okay, who are you lining up versus Green Bay next week? You have Shepard's gone for the year. Wandale is out. He's been out for pretty much the whole season, got hurt in the first half of the first game. Kadarius Toney hasn't played. You have Golladay walked off injured today. So that's going to be a whole bag of worms for Brian Dable and Mike Kafka. I thought the defense and Wink Martindale did a solid job today. I didn't think they were great, especially in the first half. I thought the Bears did some things to offset the pressure. Tackling wasn't good for the Giants today on the defensive side of the ball. Really hasn't been a strength of theirs. I thought Jalen Smith did a good job. Jalen Smith playing his first real reps today for the New York Giants. I thought he played downhill. He's a downhill linebacker. Big improvement over an upgrade over Austin Calitro, who was announced inactive before the game started. Again, that was the right move. So, when you look at this, when you kind of look at this in a capsule for the Giants and where you're at, where you're going, what does this mean? There's two sets of thought here. And it's funny because I was watching on Twitter after the game to kind of see some reactions, and you have the fans that are celebrating and happy and excited to win. And you have actually seen a tweet on Twitter today after the game that said, well, winning is good, but we're going to be picking 18th or 20th in next year's draft. And that really struck me and stuck with me because this team has, for the majority of the last decade, been a losing team. So where has the excitement and the fun come from for the fan base? It's come from the draft. It's come from high draft picks. It's become one of, a moment for the fan base that they enjoy and that they want to indulge in and they look forward to and they do the research. But my take on this is there's no better, faster way to get better and become a better team and a better player than in-game success and winning in-game. That's how you get better. You don't get better by losing games and having great draft picks because you know what? It's not always where you draft, it's who you draft. So losing games and the suck for luck and tank for Tua and the Chase Young Bowl that happened a few years ago, none of that stuff is guaranteed. None of that stuff is foolproof. Enjoy the victories. Hope that your young core keeps building. This team has young cornerstones. You have your bookend tackles. You have Xavier McKinney, Aziz Ojolari, Kayvon Thibodeau. You want these guys to experience winning and victories and learning how to tough a game out in the fourth quarter. When you're tired, like Kayvon Thibodeau, for example, was exhausted out there today. There were a couple plays he had his hands on his hips right before the ball was snapped on the line. So you want these guys to experience that. You want them to win. I think that the team should be very proud. Coaching staff should be very proud. The fan base should be very proud. There were no expectations on this team coming in at all, and it's their second best start in almost 20 years. And that's a testament to everybody involved in the organization right now. And it's nice to win. It's nice to see some victories coming out of MetLife, defend your home turf. It was rainy, it was sloppy, windy out there today, and the Giants did what they wanted to, and they ran the ball and they played defense and they scored over 20, which was nice. And they did miss a field goal. I believe it was their last offensive drive. They missed a field goal. It was a low snap. Gano missed it. So that's pretty much where it's at. You kind of sit and you wait and you take a deep breath for these injuries, and you hope that they're day to day and they're not, several weeks, because got a couple tough games coming up, and you don't want to, you don't want to just get on a slide here, even in a rebuild. But you sit back and you wait, but you enjoy the victory. You have Victory Monday, you enjoy it. You had some phenomenal performances. Again, you had Saquon Barkley playing at a near MVP level. You have Daniel Jones making progress with no receiving core. You have the young edge rushers making an impact today. You have Dexter Lawrence making a huge impact out there. You have the next man up mentality. Special teams needs to improve for the Giants. That's something I'm sure they're working diligently on. That's kind of the weak area of the team. Multiple mistakes today, even though they did recover the fumble to essentially win the game. But be happy, be positive. Victories are not easy to come by in the NFL by any stretch, especially when you're in year one of a rebuild. So this rebuild is ahead of schedule. It's right on point, right where it needs to be. Like I said, a couple plays here or there versus Dallas, and this team could be undefeated still. And that's remarkable. So it seems as of right now, the Giants got their coach, they got their GM. Whatever happens with Barkley at the end of the season, we'll see. But right now, he is a madman out there, and he's willing this team to victory. And you got Green Bay next week in London. That'll be fun, for the fans that do get to go out there. Obviously I'll have my breakdown on that game. Going to be a really interesting game. Starts around 9:30, which, Giants fans are not used to. Tough opponent in Green Bay. They're not the Chicago Bears. They're a much better team. I basically view it like this. If the Giants can come out of Green Bay, Baltimore, these next two games and split those and, come out 4-2, they have a pretty favorable stretch. And you could start to say, hey, this might be a playoff team. If they can come out 1-1 these next two and hit that stretch healthy or semi-healthy, I think this team can make the playoffs. And what an astonishing story that would be. So forget the draft picks for now. Forget the rebuild. Forget all that stuff. You've had enough of that the last decade. You got some great young players. You got 3 victories out of the first 4 games. MetLife has been alive. They looked great out there today. You had the retro field, the legacy uniforms, which were awesome. Lot to be excited and to be happy about if you're a New York Giants fan. As always, like, subscribe, drop a comment. Always means the world to me. I'll be on Twitter at TommyG105. You guys can catch me out there. But I really appreciate the support on Tommy's Takes on Giants Country YouTube. Make sure you check out Giants Country. Ton of great content creators pumping stuff out over there. As the wins start to pile up, it gets a lot more engaging to discuss and talk about the Giants. So it's awesome to see them win. That's all I have today. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.